This might be the greatest hearing aid accessory ever created if you want to hear better in background noise. Hey guys, Cliff Olson, Doctor of Audiology and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and in this video, I'm doing a detailed review of the new Phonak Roger On version 3 remote microphone. I don't think that many people would argue that Phonak has the most versatile and extensive portfolio of hearing aid accessories of any of the major hearing aid manufacturers. Now, virtually every hearing aid manufacturer has different hearing aid accessories like remote microphones, TV streamers, and remote controls, but Phonak is the only hearing aid manufacturer that has Roger. The Roger portfolio of products includes the Roger Select, the Roger Table Mic, the Roger Clip-On microphone, and of course, the Roger On. Now, each of these Roger microphones serves its own purpose, and several of them have multifunctionality, including the Roger On. Now, a lot of people think that Roger is an FM system, which stands for frequency modulation, but it's not. It's actually a DM system, which stands for digital modulation, and functions on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, just like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. This gives the Roger line of devices better sound quality and less potential for interference like the old school FM systems did. But I'm really not telling you anything new about Roger devices. What is new is that Phonak fixed some major flaws of their Roger technology with this new update to the third generation of Roger devices, and they've also added a couple nice new features as well, especially inside of the Roger On version 3, which may make this remote microphone the best hearing aid accessory ever created. But before I get into my detailed review of the Roger On version 3, do me a huge favor and click the like button. It really helps get these videos in front of a broader audience. And while you're at it, if you have not yet hit the subscribe button with notification bell, go ahead and do that as well. It is greatly appreciated. And let me know down in the comment section if you would be willing to use a hearing aid accessory like the Roger On version 3 if it helped you hear substantially better than just your hearing aids alone when you're in background noise. Okay, so let's start by talking about all the different functions that the Roger On version 3 has, because it's basically 5 accessories inside of one. Not only does it act as a multifunctional remote microphone, but it also acts as a TV streamer, and it has a feature called headset mode. To use it as a TV streamer, you plug it into the base station that it comes with. Now, this base station actually has Dolby audio, and when you want to use it, you get the Toslink cable, plug it into the back of this. You also get the power cable, plug it into the back of this. Now, this Toslink cable gets plugged into the back of your TV in the optical audio out port, and then it streams the audio from your TV directly into your hearing aids using this as the TV streamer, and more importantly, it doesn't interfere with the audio of anyone else watching TV with you. Headset mode is also a really cool feature. You don't need the base station for that, but basically what you do is you plug the USB-C into the bottom of the Roger On, then you plug in the other end of the cable into your laptop, into your phone, into your desktop, whatever the case may be, and then this acts as a microphone to pick up your voice to send to the person that you're talking to on either a Teams call or a Zoom call. This is great if you're working on a laptop in a noisy cafe and the people who you're interacting with can't hear your voice. You can definitely take this and pick up your voice better for them, because one of the issues that some people have with Phonak hearing aids is that when you're doing a wireless connection with somebody, your voice is typically picked up by the microphones on the hearing aids, and sometimes that lets in too much background noise. Okay, so that is 2 of the 5 different functions that you have with the Roger On version 3. So let's talk about some of the other functions of this guy. The Roger On version 3 has 3 different microphone modes. You have pointing mode, you have presenter mode, and you have table mode. Each of these modes are designed to help you separate speech from background noise substantially better than what you can just do with your hearing aids alone, and it even helps you understand speech at a further distance from you. And it does these things incredibly well. Pointing mode is when you take the Roger On and you point it at the person that you actually want to hear, and it isolates in on their voice with a very directional set of microphones to make sure that you can hear them without hearing all of the background noise. And this works really well inside of a cocktail party environment where you've got different people coming up from different angles, and you need to be able to move the microphone in different directions to focus in on the person that you want to hear. Presenter mode is when you clip it onto the shirt of the person that you want to hear, or you hang it around their neck with the included lanyard, and it knows based on its orientation that you want to be hearing the person that it's clipped onto. This works really well. Let's say like if you're in a car and you're driving and there's a bunch of road noise, you clip it onto the shirt or the seatbelt of the person you want to hear. It gets their voice going directly into your hearing aids and it gets rid of all the background noise. Table mode is really fun because you basically take this, you just set it on the table, and it starts picking up the voices of the people around the table with you using the directional microphones inside of the Roger On, and it gets rid of a lot of the background noise that's around you. Just imagine being at a restaurant, and when you set this down on the table, it makes it so you can hear the people you're actually eating dinner with without letting all that background noise interfere. The cool thing is that each of these different modes functions automatically thanks to the built-in accelerometer. All you have to do is literally turn on the Roger On and start using it however you want to use it, and it knows what you want to do. Now, since your Roger On is connected to your Phonak hearing aids that you're wearing, if your Phonak hearing aids are also paired to the My Phonak app, you have some level of control over your Roger On microphone. Let me go ahead and show you that here, and let's see if I can do that right here on camera. So as you can see right now, you are in the automatic program, but if we were to take the Roger On and just flick it on here, you would see that it would switch over to a Roger Direct Plus mic app. And inside of this, you actually have some more control. So for instance, if you wanted to mute the microphones of your hearing aid so you're only getting audio from your Roger On, you would hit the mute button. And yes, I understand that it kind of looks opposite of what you're trying to do here, but if the green line goes gray, that means you're muted. If you want to bring your hearing aid microphones back online along with the microphones from the Roger On, you actually tap on that mute button again. But you can also go into the ambient balance of this app, and you can do it to where you're getting more audio coming over from the external mic, or you can switch it over to where you're getting more audio coming from your surroundings, meaning in through the hearing aids, and disregarding the audio coming over from the Roger On. Now, the other thing that's really cool here is that let's say that someone's wearing this and they end up going to the bathroom while wearing it. You really don't want to hear everything that's going on in the bathroom, and if they forget to turn it off, you're going to be getting all of that audio. So all you have to do is switch back over into the automatic program, and that kills the audio coming over from the Roger On. Once they come back to the table, you can make a silly joke about them wearing this and you being able to hear everything while they're in the bathroom, and then tell them that you actually muted the microphone and that you can switch it back on right here inside of your app. Now, there is also a different app called the My Roger Mic app that is completely different than the My Phonak app that you should probably check out as well. Okay, so before I show you the My Roger Mic app, I want to show you a couple of the different functionalities on the actual device itself. So let me see if I can get this up on camera here and not focus it on my face. Okay, there we go. There's actually a center push button right here in the center that I'm going to push. And this actually will wake up the screen, and then you can cycle between the different modes. This would be table microphone mode, this would be pointing mode, and this would be presenter mode. And you see that lock button right there in the center. That tells us that you are locked into this mode. If you want this to function automatically, you have to make sure that that lock button is gone. And then of course you can see the amount of battery life that you have inside of the Roger On here. Now, if you want to use the push button to control it, or if you just want it to function automatically, that's fine. You don't have to use any app controls, but there are people, of course, who are out there who want to be able to use an app to control it even further. Now, just so you know, you can pair up to 10 different Roger devices inside of this app and control all of them independently of each other. You can mute them, you can activate them, you can adjust some of the settings of them. Now, this is called MultiTalker mode, which is probably the most underutilized feature inside of all of Roger. And I actually have a patient who has, I believe it's 7 of these devices, and we have every single one of them inside of his My Roger Mic app. Now, if you do not want to use the push button on the Roger Mic itself, you can activate all of these different programs inside of the app. Right now we have it set to auto, but you can see what happens here. If I were to take this off and set it on the table, it switches over to table microphone mode. If I pick it up and I start pointing it, you can see it goes into pointing mode. And then if I were to clip it onto my shirt here, you can see it switches over into presenter mode. But I can also toggle this as well just by forcing the different programs here. Now, another cool thing I want to show you is that if you have this in table mode, it will come up like this. Now you see those 6 green lines that are surrounding the Roger On? You can actually activate and deactivate these different microphones depending on which direction you want the Roger On to be focusing its microphone pickup on. Now if you ask me, I think that this is a really cool feature because if you have your Roger On sitting in the middle of the table and you can't reach it, you can actually go onto here and manipulate it however you want to. I always just recommend that you have where you put the USB-C charging cable into it in the very bottom. You have that facing you at all times, so it's very easy to figure out what the orientation is of these microphones if you want to use them. Now Phonak has also added a stereo wide pointing mode, which means that instead of going super narrow when you're pointing this at someone or whether you have it facing someone pointing at them, you can actually open that up to where it gets almost everybody who's in front of the microphone, so it doesn't have to limit your access to certain voices. You can see that here, that we can actually activate different microphones on here to face them where you want to face them. Now the stereo mode is something different and it's really cool, but you have to actually activate this in the settings here. You can see that now we have the option of stereo mode up there at the top. Let me go ahead and toggle that. Basically what that means is that if you have a Roger Direct enabled hearing aid, which pretty much means a Phonak hearing aid, Marvel generation or newer, then you can use this guy to give you better directionality, meaning you can identify which direction sound is actually coming from. This is a crazy feature. I think it's really cool when you actually get to experience it, but it's not great if you only have one hearing aid. It does require multiple microphones for it to be able to give you this localization ability. There's another cool feature in here called range extender there at the bottom. So if you have someone who's walking around wearing this, if they get pretty far away from you, obviously the audio can start cutting out. But if you want to extend the range of that to have the range of transmission extended so they can walk further away from you, you just toggle this on and then they can get even further away from you and you can still hear and understand them. Just know that if you do enable this feature, it is going to reduce the battery life of your Roger On down to 6 hours. Now there are a couple of other features that you have access to inside of the My Roger Mic app. I won't get into them right now, otherwise this video is going to be an hour long. All right, let's go ahead and talk about performance of the Roger On. And first and foremost, I should say that the Roger On only works well if it has been properly set up and programmed by your hearing care professional, which means that some people can actually use the Roger On, as amazing as it is, and do horribly with it. So if you're looking for a hearing care professional who actually knows what they're doing, I highly recommend that you go to hearingup.com and find a Hearing Up Network member in your area. Hearing Up members are committed to following comprehensive audiologic best practices, which includes consideration of assistive listening devices like the Roger On, and setting them up correctly so you can receive full benefit while teaching you how to use them correctly. So if you're looking for an easy way to significantly improve your hearing by using an accessory like the Roger On, finding a Hearing Up provider near you is your best bet. As far as what can be adjusted, let me go ahead and show you the programming software that we see as your hearing care professional. In the Phonak Target software, we have a dedicated Roger Direct Plus mic program that can be adjusted separately from the other hearing aid programs. In this program, we have the ability to adjust the frequency response of a Roger microphone to customize the sound quality of your device, which includes average, loud, and soft level gain adjustments along with MPO adjustments. We also have a variety of other digital features, which includes automatic or manual activation of the Roger On, the ability to enable or disable your hearing aid microphones, or apply a specific amount of microphone attenuation to reduce the amount of sound your hearing aids pick up from around you while using the Roger On. You can also adjust your hearing aid microphone directionality, your adaptive microphone behavior that controls the amount of Roger signal above the background noise versus the amount of hearing aid microphone attenuation, sound relax to reduce amplification given to loud sounds, noise block to reduce steady state noise in your environment, soft noise reduction to get rid of soft noises like a refrigerator humming, wind block to get rid of wind noise, and whistle block to get rid of feedback. Now that you know all of the different ways that a hearing care professional can set up and program your Roger On version 3, let's go ahead and take a look at what the performance benefits are if they do this well. According to published data, Roger provides 61% improvement of speech understanding in group conversations in loud noise compared to hearing aids alone. And Roger provides up to 62% more understanding of speech in noise and over distance compared to people without hearing loss. 61 and 62% are absolutely insane with how high those numbers are. Honestly, it's hard to even believe that they do that well, but this is probably the most clinically validated and tested remote microphone that exists on the planet. Not only can the Roger On help you better separate speech from background noise to understand speech better, but it can also help you hear better at a distance if someone's further away from you. And you can actually outperform normal hearing individuals if you're using your hearing aids combined with the Roger On. In fact, using an accessory like the Roger On is probably the single best thing that you can do if you want to hear better in background noise, which is probably why more and more hearing aid users are starting to use accessories like the Roger On every single day. All right, let's talk about compatibility of the Roger On with your hearing aids, and this is where Phonak fixed their major flaw that they previously had. And this had to do with the receivers that allowed the Roger On to actually communicate with your hearing aids. Thankfully, the Roger On version 3 and all of the other Roger version 3 devices are now equipped with unlimited receivers. Previously, Roger devices like the Roger Pen and the first generation Roger On required either a Roger neck loop, a Roger X receiver, a Roger integrated receiver, or a battery door receiver to be able to stream audio into your hearing aids or cochlear implants. I will say that all of these amazing Roger microphones are completely useless unless you have the Roger receivers for them to communicate with. Now, like I briefly mentioned before, most of the new Phonak hearing aids from the Marvel generation and newer, meaning Marvel, Paradise, Lumity, and now Infinio, all have something called Roger Direct, and this is also something that some of the new Advanced Bionics cochlear implants have. Roger Direct basically means that the hardware for the receivers is already pre-installed inside of your hearing aids. However, you had to separately purchase hardware that had the software that you could upload into your hearing aids to activate it. This meant that you still needed to separately purchase Roger X receivers and get one of these Roger installers, which we actually call in the clinic the hockey puck, to upload the software from those Roger X receivers into your hearing aids. Not only was this incredibly inconvenient, but every once in a while you'd be doing this upload and then the receiver would just poof, disappear into the ether, and you'd have no idea where it went, and then you'd have to order another Roger X receiver to replace it, and it was just a complete nightmare. On top of that, if you ever sent one of your hearing aids into Phonak to get repaired, oftentimes it would come back and we would hook it up to the programming software and realize that there is no receiver in it anymore, and then again we're having to request another Roger X receiver to upload into your hearing aid. And as you can imagine, this is very inconvenient, not just for you as the individual, but your hearing care professional who's trying to facilitate all of this stuff happening. As you can tell from the sound of my voice, this was a huge pain in the ass for individuals who use the Roger microphones and the professionals that they work with, and I can tell you that I have cursed Phonak's name multiple times due to this. Now, Phonak tried to solve some of this by releasing the Roger On IN version and the Roger Select IN version that had 2 receivers installed inside of it, so you wouldn't have to purchase extra Roger X receivers. You could just upload it from the Roger On directly into the hearing aids, but even those receivers would go missing as well. But hallelujah, we now have unlimited receivers inside of the Roger On, and the way that you identify this here is that all of the new version 3s should come with this. But you can see that little sticker right there. It tells us that there are unlimited receivers inside of this guy, which basically means that that huge headache that we had to go through is completely over with. Now let's continue on with compatibility, because these Roger receivers are actually compatible with other brands of hearing aids. So you do not have to have a Phonak hearing aid to be able to use one of the Roger microphones. I should also mention that Phonak elected to put in the O2 receivers rather than the O3 receivers. The O2 receivers are much more universally compatible with different Roger devices, so it's really nice that Phonak decided to put the O2s instead of the more limited O3 receivers inside of them. And I should mention that if you were to purchase a Roger X receiver that is the O2 version, you're probably spending at least $500 per receiver, which would be a total of $1,000 if you had to purchase the Roger X receivers separately. And don't worry, I'll cover the total price of the Roger On version 3 here in just a minute. All right, so remember a minute ago when I was talking about being able to pair multiple different Roger devices into the My Roger Mic app? Well, one feature that I think is the greatest feature of all time when it comes to Roger is what is known as the MultiTalker Network. The MultiTalker Network basically allows you to wirelessly tether multiple Roger devices, and I'm not just talking Roger On, I'm talking Roger On, Roger Select, or Roger Clip-On microphones. And then you can have up to 10 different people wearing those microphones in presenter mode to allow you to stream from multiple different people at the same time. Let me give you an understanding of how this works. Let's say that you go out to dinner and you're with 4 other people. When you get to the restaurant, you realize that using this in table microphone mode just isn't cutting it because, let's face it, there's just way too much background noise in that environment and you're trying to hear too many people at one time. But if you had a MultiTalker network set up with your Roger On and maybe a couple of Roger Clip-On microphones, you could actually clip these microphones onto everybody at the table with you, and every time that somebody talked, it would feed their voice directly into the microphone and wirelessly into your ears. You could shut off your hearing aid microphones completely to block out as much of the background noise as possible, and you'd be able to hear everyone exceptionally well. The only flaw with this is that if everybody starts talking at the exact same time, you're going to be in the exact same boat that you started in. But this is probably the biggest issue that a lot of people have with remote microphones, and that is other remote microphones that exist out there, you can use one of them at a given time. You can't use multiple microphones at the same time, and that's really the functionality that I think a lot of people are looking for. Honestly, if your signal-to-noise ratio loss score that is identified by your hearing care professional through speech and noise testing is really high, then you're probably going to have to use this microphone in presenter mode to get it as close to the person's mouth that you want to hear, because let's face it, your brain just does not separate speech from background noise using hearing aids alone as well as it did in the past. So as you can see, this tool right here is exceptional, and they've added a couple of new features that I just think puts this thing over the top. Quite honestly, even before they added these features, this was by far the best remote microphone on the planet. But it is still not perfect. Pairing this device to your devices and to your app and to your phone, it can be finicky at times, and this is why you should really leverage the assistance of your hearing care professional to make sure that they do this for you properly. However, the biggest flaw that still remains with the Phonak Roger On version 3 is the fact that it does not have a telecoil inside of it. There are other accessories from other hearing aid manufacturers that give you access to a hearing loop system with a telecoil inside of an accessory. So even if those hearing aids don't have a telecoil inside of them, you can still gain access to a telecoil through the accessory that wirelessly pairs with your hearing aid. You cannot do that with the Roger On, and this is a huge flaw because a lot of the new Phonak hearing aids coming out, including the Infinio and the Infinio Sphere, do not have a telecoil inside of them because they are essentially future compatible with LE Audio Bluetooth and Auracast, which will eventually replace the telecoil and hearing loops inside of public venues. So basically, if you go with a new receiver and canal Phonak hearing aid, you basically have to say bye-bye to any telecoil compatibility. This really is a big knock on Phonak when it comes to accessibility with their devices. They're basically alienating a lot of individuals who still rely on a telecoil to hear inside of public venues, and until you actually get Auracast widespread acceptance, you're not going to have accessibility inside of these venues for a while. But enough complaining about the remaining flaw of the Phonak Roger On version 3. Clearly it's a very good remote microphone. A couple other things that you should probably know is that it comes in 2 different colors. We've got the graphite gray right here. It also comes in a champagne color, which is a little bit lighter than this. Inside of the actual box, you get a couple different things. Of course, you get the Roger On version 3. You get this base stand here that also acts as a charger and a TV streamer. You get the USB-A to USB-C charging cable. You also get the Toslink cable to plug into the back of your TV. You have a user manual for the Roger On, and you even have a guide on how to install the unlimited receivers inside of your hearing aids. You also have a lanyard that you can use to hang the Roger On around somebody's neck instead of clipping it onto their shirt. And you have a nice little hard case that you can put this in, and it still works through the case. Let me actually show you how that works since you might be a little bit interested here. We're just gonna pop it in there. It's got this little flap to keep it protected, but he is inside here nice and safe, and you can even charge it there through the bottom with the USB-C. Okay, so you might be interested in the retail cost of the Phonak Roger On version 3, and this guy will set you back around $1,750 up to $2,000, maybe a little bit more than that. It really just depends on how much additional assistance you need with the Roger On version 3 to get it set up with your hearing care professional. Now that price might seem a little bit high, and I totally understand that, but keep in mind that you are getting 5 different accessories all in one. So instead of spending $300 to $500 on each one of those individual accessories, you're getting it inside of the Roger On version 3, and you're getting those O2 receivers, which would cost you $1,000 in addition to your Roger On version 3 if you had to purchase them separately. So if you ask me, for the absolute best accessory that exists on the planet, like I've mentioned like 4 times already inside of this video, that price point of nearly $2,000 is absolutely worth it. Also keep in mind, to get the amount of performance benefit that you get from the Roger On, it's only costing you a couple $1,000s, and it will make your hearing aids that cost you who knows how many thousands of dollars work substantially better. At the end of the day, as you can see, Phonak is continuing to improve upon their accessory that was already the best accessory when it came to hearing aid manufacturers. It is the most scientifically validated accessory that exists, and it's probably even more validated than other prescription hearing aids out on the market right now. So if you're looking for a way to significantly improve how well you hear in background noise and at a distance, I would highly recommend that you ask your hearing care professional to demo the Roger On version 3 today.